Hey everybody, welcome back to Ogress Speed Shop. Of course, we get the shop duck down here. So it's time to get into the next round of quote unquote restoration on the 1970 GMC 2500. So we got the frame completely painted. We got it ground down, cleaned up, and painted now. I just flipped her over and found a couple places where it dinged it up, but I already touched up the paint so you can't even tell where it was scratched from flipping it the first time. The second time it went really smooth. I figured out a better way of doing it. I used a chain and lengthened the arm on the hoist and everything. But next round we're going to be doing is getting the K member, cross member, and the suspension, all the suspension parts cleaned up and put back on so we can get this thing back on the ground and rolling again. So I can start concentrating on getting an engine built for this thing. So we're going to clean up the diff, everything on it. Probably do some brake stuff on it. I got the, in the last video, we painted and cleaned up the springs, so we gotta get those on. The bushings and bolts and stuff, the hardware should be here this week. So that's what we're doing. We're gonna get this thing back together and rolling again. So now that we know what we're gonna be doing, let's go ahead and get into it. So I took all the control arms down from the storage I have up here. And I got one torn down already. This is what the upper looks like. So I got that. And the lowers. I got one upper out here completely torn down, all the parts off of it so I can clean it up and get her painted. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not bent or anything, so it'll clean up and paint nicely. So I think the next thing we're going to do, I'm going to go ahead and show you how I did that. Because I was just kind of playing around with it and I ended up just getting it, taking it apart. So we're gonna do that. I'll show you how to do it on this one. The way these things work, they have this crossbar in there and these two screw-on style ends, and these are your bushings right here. And what they do is they actually ride on these threads, and that's how you get your smoothness. And they're greasable that way, but it makes it nice because you can actually take it apart and put it back together just by using an impact. So these ones happen to be 1 7/16 inches. So I'm gonna pull these ones off. I'll show you how it comes out after that, once I get these big bushings off the end, because these are technically a bushing because they actually press into this, sort of. So they kind of screw in and press in, but they rotate on the screw on that, so it's a nice smooth up and down motion when the truck's driving. So I'm going to pull those off of there so you can see. Let's set it up. So this gets super loud, so I'm just going to speed it up because it does take a little bit of effort to get them off of there, but makes it a lot easier than trying to press in bushings and whatnot. So let me get these off of here. All right, so that took a little bit more than what my cordless could handle, and plus the battery's down in. It's down to 1 bar. And just didn't have enough oomph to get it out of there. But see those caps screwed off? And these allow you to grease fit them, or have grease fittings in them too, so you can grease them and make them nice and smooth all the time. So that makes it nice. So now to get this out, you just gotta pull it down to one side, get this rubber piece going into the hole. Just get one side to pop out like that, and you can pull the whole thing out. Those are just seals to hold the grease in. My ears are ringing. I should have put ear protection on when I did that. All right, so next thing we got to do is pull the ball joint off. And it's got 4 1/2-inch bolts on it. Once that's out, it's really easy to pull them out. You just, take the nut off. This one's kind of stuck. You just pop it out. There's 2 pieces, got like a dust shield right there. I'm not showing you anything, am I? So you just pop out that easy. And the last thing is this little thing right here, the bump stop. You see right there, it's just a rubber insert. And the way I do that is I just kind of pop one corner as I'm putting some pressure on it. Just push it down through the hole. There you go. Pain in the butt. So now you gotta bare control arm that's ready for cleanup and paint. You can see what, you know, a few years of crud just kind of mess it makes on these things. And yeah, but next thing we'll be doing is tearing these apart. We'll have to press those ball joints out, and I got the perfect tool for that, and I'll show you that when we do it. In fact, you've seen it already when we did the springs. All right, so we're gonna start getting these lower control arms torn apart and cleaned up. However, I can't do anything, I can't get those the shafts out yet because I don't have an 1 5/8" socket. I had to order one, so it's on the way. Well, I ordered it through Amazon, it'll be on its way at some point. So far on these, the only thing I see is there's a ding right there that might need to be straightened, or it might need to be reinforced. So we'll check that out once we get it all cleaned up. I don't know, is that grease? What the heck is that? That's weird. But it must have been some kind of grease. It's a shock area though, so I don't know what that is. But anyways, we're gonna go ahead and start tearing these apart. We'll start with the ball joint so you get to see how my ball joint tool works. All right, so we need to press these ball joints out now. And what I have for that is a snap-on ball joint kit, the master kit. It's a BJP one, I don't know. But I don't remember how much I paid for this. I bought it years and years ago, but it has a book that tell you, you can look up your vehicle and tell you exactly what adapters you need. I just usually try to figure out, you know, which one fits the best. But we're gonna use that to pull the ball joints off. So let's get to it. All right, so the first thing you need to do is figure out what size you need to make it work. And so you gotta find something that'll hit this area right here and press down on it. So let's see if this one will fit. It looks like it'll press through. Looks like it's a little bigger than the hole, or a little smaller than the hole, so that should work for that one. And the other side, you need to find one that'll be big enough to cover the actual ball joint. So it needs to be able to fit up inside. And I don't know, that one big enough. Well, these things are huge. So that doesn't fit. It's not big enough to go over the bottom of the ball joint. Or does it? Nope. So the biggest one I have doesn't fit over top of it. I gotta find something else that will work. So I'll be back when I find something. Okay, so what I found is a couple bearing races. So we'll stick it on there like that and press it out. All right, so we got that set. Just watch right there. You watch that press out. All right, here we go. Like I said, my battery's dead. I think I just hit the bearing. Start moving at least. Yeah, it's coming out. So this is another way of doing it since it's already coming out. Just take and give it a good smack. There you have it. So we can get it started out with the tool. They actually do make more adapters for that, and there's a couple places in there. But I got the basic kit because most of the stuff I've worked on before is smaller. It's funny how that dirt just left a little lip right there. But anyway, that's one ball joint out. And one more to go. So we got this broken down to just the shaft. Like I said, I'm waiting on the 1 5/8" socket to come in. So I'm not sure when that'll be here, probably next week sometime. But yeah, so I got the ball joints out, got the sway bar mounts off. That ding right there, hopefully I can straighten it out, and I'll probably weld a plate onto it just to reinforce it. But that had to take a pretty good hit to put a dent like that in it. You can see the difference. This is the way it's supposed to look, and then that's in there about a good 3/4 of an inch to an inch almost. So I'll have to figure out a way of doing that or get a new one. Maybe I'll go tubular. I don't know. Well, I cleaned up the one control arm that is bent over here. I figured I could probably straighten out until I saw this. That right there, in comparison to the other side, yeah, that's not repairable. Not with what my equipment is. I don't think I can straighten that out to be good enough to be safe. So, new one on Summit's $100. I'll probably just go that route. Let's do, I think I'm going to go ahead and just order 2 new ones for the uppers. Oh, I'm sorry, the lowers. These are the lowers. The uppers, I don't see anything wrong with those. Just new ball joints should take care of those. Yeah, so that's about it. So I'm not going to bother cleaning these ones up anymore. And one of the shaft actually came out because that was loose enough, because you can see here it was pushed out on this side probably about maybe 3/8 of an inch because it's dented so bad. So yeah, this side definitely took a pretty good hit. And it had a steering stabilizer on it, which was weird. It was definitely something that was added. I wonder if this has something to do with it, but who knows. But yeah, I'm just going to order new ones. Those are going in the trash, basically. I'll probably save that one just for a backup. I got one of the uppers cleaned up and first coat of paint on it. That's the rust reformer, so it covers up any of the rust that might have still been on there. I didn't do it perfectly, but I'll probably do these in satin black as well. So there's that one. This is one of the things I really don't like doing. I hate cleaning parts, but it does save a lot of money by doing it. So I got this one partially done here. So just got this side, and I can paint this one. All right, so this is where we're at. I was gonna clean this one up. I already got the one in there that's painted. I got this one mostly cleaned up. However, the Moog ball joints at Rock Auto are $45 a piece. All the ball joints at O'Reilly's, no matter what brand they are $80 or more. I can get the entire Moog control arm from Summit Racing, so same place I can get the Moog lowers, I can get the uppers for $65 a piece. So for $25 extra, all brand new piece, I don't have to worry about cleaning them. So that's what I'm going to do, since I got to get the ball joint anyways. And that's going to go for these too. So for about 300 and I don't know, some odd dollars, I'll get all new suspension. And since that one's damaged, and one of these is actually bent up too. Yeah, that one. So that's damaged anyway. So yep, looks like I'm just going to buy all new control arms for it, or A-arms, whatever you want to call them. And so that's where we're going to be at for that. So now the only thing I have to clean up is the K member and the cross member and the diff. So that makes me happy in a way, because I don't like cleaning parts. It's like my least favorite thing to do. And this is going to be just such a fun one to do, especially those backing plates. But at least I don't have to worry about doing all the control arms, even though this one's already done pretty much. So at least we got a couple standbys in case we ever need them. But yeah, so I started cleaning up the spindles and a bunch of little parts. The little parts I don't mind as much, but the big parts are just a pain in the butt. But anyways, diff is all, K member, cross member, and that's it. I'm not going to do anything about the A-arms right now. All right, so I got the K member cleaned up and the first coat of Rust-Oleum rust reformer on it. So no, it doesn't look good, but it's just there to protect it. It's going to be under the truck, so I'm not too concerned about it. I'm going to paint it satin to match the springs, but other than that, it's pretty much what it's going to look like. I still got to do the top side of it. Well, we got some of the parts in for putting the rear suspension back in. Got the new center bolts, new U-bolts, and the 2 shackle bolts, and 2 of the leaf spring bolts. The other 2 were still, they were shipped out, or they left Minnesota or something today. I don't know. But yeah, for whatever reason, they were 2 separate distributors. But so we got to get those pressed in, which is not too big of a deal. I got to clean these plates up. Got to get the diff cleaned up. And once that's cleaned up, we can put that back in. And it doesn't need to have the brakes on it. And I got the K member fully painted now with the rust reformer. So I gotta go over it with the do a coat of the satin black, and then that'll be done. So we can start putting things back on the frame. Oh yeah, these are the magnets I got. That's the fourth one of those I've got. But that's pretty cool. Because a second gen Firebird. So, you know, I'm kind of partial to Pontiacs. Yeah, pretty cool. All right, so I got the K-member completely painted now with the satin black. It's just curing now. So I think we're gonna go ahead and get these bushings pressed in, at least on the shackles, because we've only got 2 of the springs, but I guess we could do 1 spring. But and we can get the springs assembled too, since we got the center bolts. And we got the U-bolts as well. Okay, so we're gonna use the press to do this. And I wanna show you something. I took a bearing inner race. You see that notch in it? I cut that so it fit around us perfectly. I did this when I was trying to press them out originally, but it fits that notch on the bracket perfectly. So I can do a nice flat press. So we're gonna use this to press in the bushings. I don't wanna push on the inner sleeve, so I'm gonna use that socket to do it. Just use a hammer in that socket to start it off. It's going to go till the outer sleeve is flush with the top of that. Okay, so it doesn't need to go, so it's going to stick out a little bit on each side. Looks like maybe if I just go to the edge of this corner right here, then it'll be pretty well centered. So let's do that. See, right about there. Yeah, maybe just a little bit more, just to be even. You know, the fact that it got stuck on the little adapter tells me it's probably about perfect. See, if you look each side there, sleeve is even on both sides, so we should be good on that. Let's go test fit it on the frame. Probably something I should have done before pressing it in, but I'd say that's going to work just fine. I'm not sure exactly which way it goes. I think it might go like that. But either way, it'll fit. I just realized I don't have hardware. I don't have the bolts to mount these. I need some, I think they're 5/8 or 9/16 bolts. But I can get those anywhere, so. All right, so that's one down, and you know, 4 more to go, or 3 more to go now, and then we got the leaf springs. So let's go get the other one done, and I'll be back when I'm done with those. All right, so I got one of the spring packs almost put together. I gotta cut that off because I can't get the socket on there anymore. So I want to do it by hand. I guess I could do that too, but everything's together. I got Loctite this nut over here on this clamp. And of course I'll Loctite that bolt too once I get it down into position. But yeah, so that's the first one. I'm just waiting on 2 more bushings for this one. But other than that, we're good to go on one side. All right, so I brought the K-member in and just have it sitting underneath the frame. And you can see a little bit of contrast there with the difference between the satin black on the K-member versus the gloss black on the frame. And the frame is dirty, just from sitting for a couple of days, it just got dusty. And that's what country living gives you, especially the red dirt around here in Oklahoma. But anyways, yep, we're good on that. I already showed you the spring. I got the spring pack completely assembled now. Just need to cut that bolt off. It's already Loctited and tightened down. So I need to Loctite the clamp and then tighten it down. But then the shackles can go on, but I need hardware. So I need to find some, I think they're 5/8 bolts. I'll have to check. I do have the old ones, but they're worn out. So yeah, so we should be able to get these springs on here pretty soon. The bushings for that one, it's been sent. I'm not sure how long it takes to get here, but they were coming from a different location. So but the same part, just different location. They only had 2 in one area. So anyways, those are done. I got the U-bolts, and so yeah, I'm gonna call it a night, I think, just because there isn't much more to do. I gotta start cleaning up the diff, and I don't feel like doing that this evening. Still gotta do spindles and steering arms and all that good stuff too. I cleaned up the lower brackets, or started to, and I noticed that there's a crack in this one right here, so I'm going to repair that. And I'll show you how to properly repair that, because you want to find the end of the crack and get the crack to stop by drilling it. Then you can go in here and kind of grind it down and give you a nice channel there to weld into, and then can repair that. I'm not sure why it would do that, and I don't really think it's a big deal, because you know, it holds in this area here as far as the bolt goes. But I don't know, we'll figure it out. But yeah, just gotta repair that one. This one, I didn't find any on it yet, so I need to do some cleanup on it and then paint those. But yeah, that's where we're at as far as getting stuff ready to go back on. Just a lot of cleaning. So I almost forgot to film this part, but putting the front K-member in. I already got those bolts in up there, and the way it works is a strap that goes up inside the K-member and then up into the frame there. I don't have the 3 bolts. So that's all it is that one strap goes up through, and 3 bolts, 3 nuts, 3 lock washers. All right, so the next bolts that go in are these 2 right here, and they screw in. There's a threaded area on this K-member, so I'm using a punch to center it. So they just go, I can't see, it's dark. So that just screws into there. And into there. That one might need a little bit of alignment. Just a little bit off. But that's where those ones are at. There's 2 more bolts that are a bolt and a nut that go on the top right here. So there's a lot of bolts holding this K-member in. All right, so I got all the bolts in the K-member. So these 2 upper ones are a bolt and a nut. And I'll paint over those once I get them all torqued down. But if you remember was it a previous video or earlier in this video, I talked about how the front isn't quite square. So I want to make sure it's square before I tighten any of that stuff down. So we got to do that, take a measurement, because it was just under a ½ inch difference from corner to corner here. And it could be from it taking that hit at one point. So it needs to basically go this way, and the front just kind of push over. And because the back is fine, the back is square, it's just this front up here is a little off. And I'm going to put some pressure on the K-member and see if that brings it over or not. And then we'll decide from there whether it's close enough or if we have to square it up some more. And we'll go from that. All right, so I got the K-member completely bolted in now. And I took some measurements. What I did is I jacked up this side of the frame to put a little twist into it before I tightened that down. When I did that, it straightened it out. So now we got exactly 110 degrees, or 110 inches from this corner to the opposite corner over here on both sides. So it's 110 perfectly square. And I also measured from the middle right there to each corner out here, and they were exactly 109. So we're square on the front now, and so I can live with that. It's close enough anyways. But yeah, so we're good to go in the squareness of the frame right now. All right, so I'm gonna show you real quick how to fix this crack. I'm gonna drill a hole down in here where the crack ends so it doesn't spread anymore. Then we're gonna grind out a little valley in here so we have a nice little area to fill. I'm gonna just weld it up and then grind it down. Okay, so first things first, we're just gonna drill a hole right here just to stop the crack. Maybe get a better bit. All right, so I'm just gonna drill a hole right here at the end of the crack. So that should stop the crack from going any further. And I'm gonna take a grinder and just grind a little valley down in there. All right, now let's get the welder up. And there you have it, no more crack. And for everybody wondering if I welded the inside, yes I did. So I went to town this morning to get hardware, and I found the 9/16 fine thread bolts at Tractor Supply. They didn't have the nuts, so I'm going to reuse the originals. However, one of the things that I prefer to do, and this is one of the things that I've learned over the years to improve the longevity of your hardware. You see how these original bolts, where they were rubbing on here, actually I'll use a shackle as an example, if I can get it out of the frame. Okay. So basically the way I look at it, see how it doesn't go the whole way through? And you got your threads right there. So what I like to do is I like to have this, the full amount of that distance on the shank. So I still might end up looking for 5-inch long. These are 4-inch long bolts. That's what originally came in it. That's what it had from the factory. But I might go for 5-inch bolts just to be able to bring that shoulder all the way over so it comes out the end like that, and the bolt is resting fully on the bracket on each mount. I hope that makes sense to you. But it'd make a lot more sense if I actually had the bolts. So I might end up ordering 5-inch bolts to do this. And then I was looking at 5-inch bolts at the coarse thread ones, and this shank is way too long for what we need here. But what I could do is just chase the threads a little bit further down on it if I go that route. So, but got one spring in, and like I said, I'm just using the original nuts because they didn't have the fine thread nuts at Tractor Supply where I got the bolts. But at least I got one spring in, and the bushings for this spring should be in Monday, I think. Today's Saturday. So basically, to better illustrate what I'm talking about, I'm going to use this 1/2-inch bolt. So basically, you just want it to where you have a part of the actual shank fully over there. You can just space it out of the washer at that point to be able to tighten it down. But you want that shank to be solid and no threads on it, just for better longevity, and you know, it won't move around in there. Hope I'm explaining that way you all can understand. So this is where we're at now. I got the motor mounts back on. They're not tight because they are slotted so they can move around a little bit. Got the transmission shifter linkage back in, or the mount. Shock mounts are back in. I painted and put the mid-bearing plate back on. I got one spring on. Still waiting on the bushings for that one. I don't know what's taking so long. But I got those from Rock Auto, and the other ones came in last week, and I still haven't got the last two. They were coming from a different source, so I don't know. Started cleaning up the diff, and I also discovered that these drums, in order to find them, to replace them, I had to search for a 1972 GMC 2500, and it actually specifies a Dana rear end in it, where this one has a Dana rear end. This is a Dana 60. And you can tell that by the way that it is, plus it says 60 right on it right there. I think that's the mark for it. But anyways, that's where we're at. So cleaning that up. I think I am going to pull the bearings off just to make sure that they're all good. They don't need any, don't need to be replaced or anything. They feel fine, but I want to get that backing plate off there, make it easier to clean. It's cold right now, so I can't even bring the pressure washer out because like the spigots and everything outside are frozen, so can't even use water right now as far as being outside. But yeah, so that's where we're at with this. Just gonna finish cleaning it up. Like I said, I started a little bit, and but yeah, so we gotta get that cleaned up. Hopefully that bushing comes in tomorrow. I don't know for sure. And I got bolts and hardware coming for the springs back here. But again, I ordered from Amazon, and I don't know why, if you're not Prime membership, they wait till like the day before it's supposed to be to you to ship it out, instead of shipping it out the day you order it. But I'm kind of tired of Amazon that way. but it's one of the good places to get stuff, which sucks. But sometimes you just gotta wait if you want the free shipping, and I'm cheap, so yeah, I want the free shipping. It just takes a week for them to actually ship it, even though it takes a day for it to travel to me. But anyways, I'm done rambling for that. But yeah, so bushings, bolts, hardware, bolting stuff back onto the frame. I want to be able to get the frame under the body again before I put the diff on, because it's too wide with the diff on there. Otherwise, I can just roll it right under the way it is now. So, but that's where we're at with that. Just bolting things back on after they get painted. I got the brackets, U-bolts, spindles all over here painted and ready to go back on when it's time. Got the steering arms, and I'll probably get into the steering linkages and everything at some point, get those cleaned up as well. But yeah, this is just a video of cleaning and prepping and putting stuff back together. I got the drums off the front hubs too. I didn't realize they came off. I thought they were part of it, but they do come off. So I'm not sure what I'm doing for front brakes yet. I kind of want to go disc, but it's expensive. So it's just one of those things, you know. It's a project, and it's not cheap. You know, these things cost money to do. And one of the other things I'm thinking about doing is, because I don't know what color I'm painting the truck yet. I kind of like the green, and especially since it's not green, it's kind of silverish, whatever they did to it to, you know, I'm not sure what they were thinking when they painted it, but the silver and the light green and the dark green, whatever, it's kind of cool looking to me. Or I'm going to do that paint scheme like my dad's truck. So if I do that, I'll probably paint the firewall either way. I'm going to paint it probably black, like a satin black. That way it'll go with any paint scheme I put on it. And it'll be nice and clean and look good. So I don't know yet. We'll figure that out as we go. That's where we're at with everything. Just waiting on parts as usual. Well, the last two bushings for those leaf springs finally came in, and from Rock Auto. So let's get these pressed in and we'll be done with those. Ta-da. All right, got those all pressed in. Real simple process. I think they're in pretty good. That side's definitely level. Yeah, that side's good too. So we're good to go to reassemble these things now. These actually go together pretty simple. I don't know if I mentioned before, I think I did, that all there's a short distance from end to the center hole. All of them go forward except for the very last one, the top one, it's the long side goes forward. So all these short sides need to go towards the front. And got the new bolt, the new center bolt here. Just gonna feed it through. And that's really all there is to it as far as assembling these. You gotta get the clamp on the end here too. Just got a sleeve with the bolt. I may end up replacing these because they're kind of a little bit worn down in areas, but shouldn't really matter. I'm just gonna get these together now and get a clamp. Well, let's mark up the new freshly painted, oh man, I forgot the stupid little plastic sleeve. This goes in over here, so we gotta put that back in. Let's take this back out. At least it lined up perfectly now, so it's not like it's hard to do, just like that. Pretty simple. The hard part is definitely getting this clamp back on. Just like that. I'll put some Loctite on that when I go to tighten it down, same with the middle. So let's go ahead and tighten that down. So I'm using the deepest 9/16 I have, which is my impact. And just to tighten it down. I'll have to tighten the rest by hand. I'm not going to put you through that. All right, so we got both bolts tightened down now and Loctited with some red Loctite on there so they don't come apart. Now we can put this back on on the frame of the truck. And still need to cut this off, so I'll cut that off real quick too. And still need to do the other one. I just want to make sure that everything was tight and good to go before I went and did it. I was cleaning up today, but so you cut that one off too. So those things aren't exactly light, so it's kind of a pain in the butt to get them in sometimes. Start with dropping on my foot. I'm gonna start with the front here, get the front in. Alright, so that one's in. So I'm not gonna tighten these down yet because for one, you wanna have the weight of the truck on there before you do it. And two, I've actually got new bolts coming. And I'll explain that as far as the shoulder width on that goes when I get those in. So now I gotta get this shackle in here. And there we go. One leaf spring installed. Cool. So I also went ahead and painted the new U-bolts too, just for no other reason than rust protection, but those need to go down, over, and then around the differential, and then through those little clamps right there, and then they get tightened down. But we're not gonna do that yet because, like I said, I want to be able to move this frame underneath the cab of the truck again, but without the diff being in the way. So that's what we're gonna do. So we're pretty much done on that. So the springs are on. Still waiting on what I'm gonna do for the front suspension because I'm still making sure I get the right control arms coming. So I might just order one of each to make sure they're the right ones. So, because there's one that's a standard and one that's a heavy duty, and it's not for the same year. And yeah, so it's a bunch of interesting stuff you gotta figure out. So we'll see. All right, so we got the frame back under the truck just to store it there because that way it's not taking up a lot of room other places. But yeah, she looks pretty good underneath there. Now I definitely got to do something with the cab of the truck to make it look a little better. But overall, I don't mind that at all. So I know it's a little loud in here because I got the heater going, but we're gonna go ahead and pull these axles out. So we get these plates off and clean everything the way it needs to be and check the bearings for the axles. So let's go ahead and get it torn apart now. So since this is called this differential is a floater, is what they call it, because the axle bearings are actually out here, and the axles don't actually ride on a bearing out here. They bolt to the bearing system out here. So these are floating differential type, floating axles. So the bearings are all inside that hub. So we're gonna take that hub apart now and make sure all the bearings are good. Take the plates off, clean everything up. Just make it look good, you know, because it's gonna go back underneath there, and I'm not planning on taking it back out again. So once it's back in there, it's in there for good. At least for as long as I own it and drive it or I'm alive. So let's get these hubs off. All right, so starting off, the way you gotta get these big nuts off of here is there's a snap, or there's a ring that goes around. And I don't know if you can see in there or not, but there's little tabs that hold this in place. We gotta bend those tabs out so we can get to them. And, I think you can see one right there. Good focus, there's a tab right there. And there's a couple more that are bent down around. So we gotta bend those back so we can take that nut off. And I don't have the nut or the socket to do the nut, but it should be loose enough once we get that tab off of there to spin it by hand. All right, so I'm just gonna use a chisel to get in there and get underneath it and bend it back. Looks like that's it. So I'm gonna use the same chisel and see if I can just tap this off, because I don't have, like I said, on the nut. I might have to run to town and get one if I can't get it off. It looks like it's starting to spin. There we go. Cool. This one's a little tighter. The other side, I was messing with it earlier, and it was spinning already. So I think maybe might need some bearing work or just adjustment. So let's get this nut off. You want to make sure you take these off and keep them in order. I always pull them off and put them down, so when I grab them and they go back up in like that. So let's just take them off in order. There it is. You can see, I don't know why it's not coming out, but this is that retainer for that outer nut. And again, like I said, pull it off, stick it down, so it goes in like that. So now we got the second nut, and that one's already, it's spinning. So this is the nut that actually sets your preload on the bearing. So you definitely need to get the socket. I don't think I have this size. So you can see it's already coming loose because that's taking all the pressure off your bearing. Get my fingers in there, there we go. This is one of those times I wish we had smell-o-vision, because the smell that's emanating from this axle, and those of you who know, it is lovely. So that's your second nut, and that's the nut that sets the preload on your bearing. So now this should just slide right out, bearings and everything. And just like that, see your bearing in there, and your rear bearing and seal. So that all needs to be replaced because that was leaking. So that's your first one down. Now you can get that plate off, get everything cleaned up. All right, so now you got the hubs off. You just want to check your bearing surfaces. So this is your inner bearing surface and your outer bearing surface right here. Just want to make sure that those are good and not grooved or smaller than they should be. As long as they're smooth, you should be good to go. And that's it for the axle as far as, checking those things. And the bearings, I mean, they're gummed up. I'll probably clean them and check them out a little bit easier, a little bit better. But they might need replaced, we'll see. There's nothing better than the originals because, the stuff they made 60 years ago is a lot better than the stuff they make now. But, so the outer bearings, I'll check those. We'll replace the seals on the back of the back of the hubs. Check the bearing, the inner bearing as well. Just make sure everything's good. And get these plates off. I think those are 5/8, maybe 11/16 bolts or heads. Those are definitely 5/8, so those might be 11/16 headed nuts. But we'll get those plates off there so we can clean them up real nice. Get the rest of the axle cleaned up, painted, so you can put it back in the truck or back on the frame. All right, so we got her completely broken down. I'm not going to tear the inside out. I think I did determine it's a 411 gear, which is a good towing gear ratio for turbo 350. But it'd be good for if I had an overdrive. So I'm thinking about doing a 4L80 swap of some sort, or at least a 700R4. Though I'd rather the 4L80 for towing capacity, but I would decide for that. But anyways, we got the squirrel. We got the Dana 60 torn down, got the backing plates over here. We can clean up now a lot easier. We can finish cleaning up the axle tubes and get these painted and ready to go back on. So that's what we're gonna do. Now I got those cleaned up and the first coat of paint on them, the rust reformer. So basically primer. I'm gonna do a semi-gloss on these ones. So gotta finish cleaning this up, paint it, and that can go back on there. So, yep. All right, so we got the diff all cleaned up, ready for paint now. Definitely tell how 50 years of corrosion can affect things. But that was all just pitted, rusty, nasty mess from the clamp like we talked about before, which is somewhere where I put it. I don't remember where I put it now. But the piece that goes up underneath and actually holds the diff in, it should be, it goes, you know what I'm talking about, where the U-bolts go into. I think I put it over there. But anyways, doing the squirrel thing again. But yeah, just see how it's pitted there. But also, I found in, the evidence that this is definitely a 411 rear end, because it says right there on the tag. So if it's the original tag and it hasn't been switched, which I really doubt it has, because it seems pretty original, It's definitely got the 411 gears in it, and it's staying at 60, so. All right, so we got the first coat, well, the last coat, I should say, of the putting satin black on these, the backing plates. So I just sprayed those. So those are good to go. Got the first coat of the rust reformer on the diff. So it's looking good, and we'll do satin black on it as well. So definitely making a lot of progress. I gotta flip it over and paint the other side of it next. But yeah, that's where we're at right now. Those are gonna be done as soon as they're dry, and gotta do the satin black on the diff. Then we can put that back in there. All right, we got her flipped and got this side painted now with the rust reformer. So to cover up any rust that might be on it and give it like a little primer coat. So we'll do satin black once this dries. Got the satin black drying over there. So we should be good to go. And the clamps I was talking about earlier, way over there. But anyways, getting there. Definitely a lot more progress. So there isn't much more to clean on the frame before everything will be done on that. I got one control arm on the way. Should be here Friday. Hopefully it's the right one. We won't know till then. So I only order one, but at least if it's the right one, I know it's the right one and I can order the rest. All right, so we got the top coat of the top side of the differential painted with the satin black now. I'll let it cure overnight, and I'll flip it and do the bottom side, and then that will be done. So that's where we're at on that. Looks pretty damn good already. I like it. Looks a lot better than crusty, dusty, old, rusty looking stuff, isn't it? So I'm happy. All right, so I got the final coat of the satin black on the differential now, and that'll be ready to go in as soon as that's cured up. However, today is the first day of the season that we got snow. So it's a little cold out here. I had the heater going and it's okay, but it's still only 40 degrees in here. But that's pretty much all I want to do today was get that done. And tomorrow we got the control arm should be in, so we can test fit that. And yeah, then we can put this in tomorrow as well once it cures up. So we'll do that tomorrow. So this here's the transmission cross member for the truck. If you look right here, you can see these two pieces are riveted together. And what I'm going to do, because that squeezes up in between the frame here, and bolts to the top and to the bottom, but it's really hard to get in and out. So to make things easier, what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut those rivets out and use bolts when it's time to put it back in. So we can add that plate after the fact. So we can add this top plate, you get this cross member in there, then add this later for support. So it makes it much easier for installs and transmission rebuilds or whatever to take the transmission out. So we're going to separate those plates and make it a lot easier on us. Then we'll paint it and get it ready to go back in when it's time. You know, we're not even close to having a transmission put in this thing yet, but just got to get it cleaned up and prepared for that. All right, so there you have it. They're separated now, so make it a lot easier to install it. And safety glasses don't really work for keeping shit out of your eyes, apparently, because when I was grinding this one off, got a bunch of stuff in my eye, which is awesome. But look at all that dirt and everything that was in between these two plates. So now we can clean them up, and it'll never build up like that again unless I just don't take this thing out for 50 years. So anyways, now I gotta clean it up, paint it, get it ready to go in when the transmission. All right, so I got those two top plates cleaned up and ready for paint now. So now I just gotta clean up the main cross member and get it ready for paint. So we're gonna do that. The Dana 60 is, as I trip over myself, the Dana 60 is ready to go back in. So we're gonna go ahead and get it over here, get it under the truck. Well, under the frame, that's kind of under the truck, and get her bolted in. I'm still waiting on the hardware for this, for the bolts here, for the shackles and whatnot. Supposed to be here Monday now, it's supposed to be here today. This is Friday, but they moved it back because of severe weather, because it snowed, you know. so it's Oklahoma. What do you expect? But yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and stick it under there and we'll replace the bolts when they come in. But let's get it in there. Well, that was a little more involved than I thought it was going to be. I thought with my cool apparatus for installing differentials would make it really easy. Unfortunately, it kicked it up at the wrong angle to go into the springs and line up the U-bolts. So I had to kind of drop it down, tip it around, move it around, then try to get it off the jack because that didn't go down far enough to get it off without bringing the whole frame way up in the air. Which is why I brought that in to get it under there initially. And then it just got in the way, and then that got in the way, and then this got in the way, and everything got in the way, and then finally got to this point where it's on jack stands at all four corners of the frame. And the diff is like a paper thin away from the ground, but it's where it needs to be for now. So, well, that was a pain in the butt. All right, so I think the last thing we're gonna do for this video, we're gonna go ahead and put the backing plates for the drums back on. So let's get into that. All right, so these go on real simple. There are 7 bolts, and this little slot right here is for your parking brake cable, and it goes towards the front. So, and I cleaned the bolts up so they're nice and clean and look pretty. So we can get these on there and get her bolted back together. All right, so those are all started. They are a 7/16 20 bolt. So it means I got a 5/8 head on the back, on the bolt itself, and the nuts are a 11/16. So we'll grab those and tighten it down. All right, so those are good. I'll probably hit with the rack wrench real quick. Okay, so we got the backing plates on, and I think the last thing we got to do is we're going to go in and torque the U-bolts. Let me figure out what the torque spec is, and then we'll come in and do that real quick. All right, so luckily I was given this service manual with the truck when I bought it, which is pretty nice. It's barely even been cracked open. But if you look right here, torque specs, right there, spring U-bolt nuts for a C2500, 150 foot-pounds. So that's what we're going to set them to. All right, so I got my torque wrench set to 150 foot-pounds. Let's get in here and torque these things down. Hit the other side and we're done. All right, so we got the U-bolts all torqued down now, so the diff is permanently attached to the springs now. I'm just waiting on the hardware to get here. It's supposed to be here today, but weather permitting, I guess. So, but yeah, we got the shackles on there. Shackles, not shackles. We got the U-bolts bolted and torqued down, so we're good to go on that. So, yeah, we're pretty close to being done in the back here. So, looking pretty good. I like it. Well, we got something today. It's Saturday, and it got delivered by FedEx, so I was a little surprised. So let's go ahead and open it up, see what we got. Yeah, I know what it is. But y'all might not. That looks monstrous. But no, what it is, it's a replacement control arm to replace that bent one, and hopefully it's the right one. And I'll explain that here in a little bit. All right, so this should be the fully loaded control arm from Moog. So hopefully it all matches and is the same. So far, it's looking pretty good. It comes with everything new, including bump stops, a ball joint, and pivot shaft. Alright, so here's the thing. This is not for a 1970 GMC. I found this by looking up a 1982 GMC C2500. Judging by the looks of it, this is the right one. So let me grab the spindle, make sure it goes on. It kind of looks like it fits, hard to say. Okay, the taper is definitely different. The ball joint. Let me grab the original one. Alright, so other than that, everything else looks the same. So maybe the ball joints are a little bit different. Yeah, that shaft is definitely bigger on that. The diameter is the same. If the diameter is the same, I can just change that ball joint. And the cross shaft. The thing I see different about that is it's got a hole on both ends, whereas this only has it on one. The diameter looks the same. This doesn't spin, but it's so tight. But either way, I needed a new control arm, so looks like we're gonna have to do ball joints, and that's about it. It's the only thing I see is not right. So, yep, ball joints it is. Everything else matches up. So, yeah, the ball joints something is wrong. So, 1982 ball joints are smaller, but the control arm's pretty much the same. There's like an extra bracket right here. I'm not sure what that does. Got the holes for the sway bar, mount for the shock, and the bump stop. So other than the ball joint, everything else looks the same, and the extra hole for the shaft. So I don't know. Let's see if it'll work. I think it should, but kind of want to see this actually spin in there because it needs to, but maybe it's just so tight that it can't right now. Or I might have to back these out a little bit. We'll see once we get it on the truck. All right, so what I discovered is just the ball joint here is a little different. Well, this plate right here, this bracket, get this out of the way, it's a little different, but if you look at it, it covers the same area as this one does. It's just they added a little bracket there. I'm not even sure what that does, but I mean, because this is the bump stop. I'm not sure what this one actually does. I don't remember there being anything on it. So, but the other thing is the taper on the ball joint is different. So like the base circle down here is the same as this one, the original one, but the top circle is smaller. So the taper is a little bit more than what the original was. You can see the size difference in the nut or the end of the shaft too. So there's definitely a difference. This one's bigger than my fingernail, and this one's the same as my fingernail. So it's just definitely just a different ball joint, which is an easy fix. But and like I said, I needed this anyways because this one's bent so bad in a couple of different places. So at least I got the control arm, and it should work. So we'll test fit it on the truck. All right, so it works. It fits the truck and moves up and down nice and easily. It fit into the hole on the K-member, so it should work. I think the only thing we have to worry about is the ball joint. So good on that. So like I said, this control arm fits the truck, so we're good on that. I just gotta wait on the ball joint. It's ordered. Not sure what's gonna be here. The rest of the stuff, I'm still waiting on parts. We had some delays because of weather, and as far as shipping and delivery goes, so still waiting on this hardware to come in. But other than that, I think we're gonna go ahead and end it here. So I think this is a good stopping point as far as where we're at with getting the frame and all the parts cleaned up. I got a lot more to go. We'll continue it in the next video where we assemble the front suspension, finish up the rear suspension, hopefully when I get that hardware in. So on that note, if you like this video, go to leave a like down there, leave me a comment, let me know what I can do better, and subscribe while you're at it if you want to. So again, I appreciate y'all watching, and so until next time, I will see y'all later.